Oh, it's very, very worrying how quick they are able to do this. We are talking live facial recognition within a matter of seconds, under 3 seconds. If you are on that database, whether it's the side view, front on, or if it's low resolution, it really is impressive at quickly identifying someone.
Hi, I'm Jo Crawford and welcome to Times Radio's Tech Report. Today I'm joined by Jake Moore, Global Cybersecurity Advisor for ESET. Thank you for joining me on the Tech Report today.
Oh, thank you.
So the police are set to expand its use of facial recognition technology. This is involving the deployment of 10 live facial recognition vans to be used across 7 forces in England. The Home Office says that they're doing this to help identify suspects of crimes, including sexual offences, violent assaults, homicides. How do these vans work?
These vans are using some very clever real-time technology. It's not completely brand new. They've been playing around with this software over a few forces for a few years. In Wales, they've been using it for over 5 years now. And they are effectively using the body-worn cameras, or the cameras inside the cars and the vans, running through some special software. And if there is a stored template in their database of a face and it matches that with some good confidence, then it can ping them and tell them who they are. So it sounds pretty impressive. And arguably, it's very similar to, say, a good police officer on the street who can just recognize someone from their face. And now they're just using the technology to implement and improve what they've already got.
I mean, do we know at the moment, in terms of statistics, about how many people have been arrested as a result of this? And also how many cases that's led to successful convictions? Do we know that?
I haven't seen those stats yet, but I know that it's causing a lot of, say, confrontation on both sides about the technology and this whole freedom of being able to go around without being spied upon. But the fact we've had CCTV on the streets and on police cameras for a long time now, it's just adding that extra technology which is available. But I mean, the question here is, how confident are they with the software? Now, it's got a few issues around it. It's definitely not 100% accurate all the time. But of course, on the flip side to that, we've had wrongful arrests for many years since the police were invented. So it's a kind of a technological version of exactly that.
And you've actually been testing out this software yourself. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so as soon as I started to hear that the police were using this particular software called Coresight, I wanted to see how good it really was. So I requested a license, of which I was able to then add myself to a database. And I've tested it in multiple locations. In fact, I was able to test it in a very busy train station in Waterloo in London. And I was able to see if it would pick me out with that confidence. And therefore, surrounded by many faces, it picked me out very, very quickly. In fact, it's so impressive. If I were to cover my face, but it knew how I walked, maybe it learnt how I walk, it can then see where I pop up elsewhere. So if you imagine like in an airport situation where you've seen someone walking, but then you don't know where they've gone, you've lost them, you could say, look for that walk again, and it'll find them popping up somewhere else.
There are concerns there from campaign groups that are saying that this is sort of an expansion of a surveillance state. What do you make of that? And would you say there's any differences between CCTV, for example, and then these vans?
I think it's right that there should be some sort of backlash. So I know that we've been using CCTV for many years, and that was one level, but this seems to take it to the next level with facial recognition. The abuse that could occur when criminals, maybe they could then track movements and activities if they were to hack into the database. We hear of breaches all the time, and we don't really know yet how that data is being stored or encrypted. That to me sounds like a weakness that could be exploited by very committed criminals who want to, say, target that database. If they were able to, say, steal templates around there, maybe even add deepfake technology, which is something that I was testing within this software as well, then we start to see many more issues, not just the surveillance nation that we're walking into.
And you mentioned deepfakes. Could you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah. So Whilst playing with the software and trying to see any weaknesses in there, I decided to run it through another piece of software, which is using deepfake technology. So I stuck another face on top of my face. This idea came to me from a Mission Impossible movie where he walks through an airport as someone else. I wanted to see if this was possible. I did this in a very busy CCTV situation in the train station, and I was able to stick another face. In fact, I stuck Tom Cruise's face on top of mine and made it look for my face, which was in the database, and it didn't because Tom Cruise wasn't on the database, which proves if you intercept this software with, say, very, very high quality skills and knowledge, then it can be manipulated. Of course, there are other ways of doing this, just simply putting masks on your face in real life. But it just shows one of the weaknesses that is on, say, a technological side of things that we may not be thinking about. And typically when the government start to see new technology, they don't see the bigger picture or listen to those experts who are warning them about those particular problems.
Do you think that the government is taking that possibility seriously? Especially at the rate that we're seeing AI evolving?
I don't think the government have really understood the threat of AI. It sounds fantastic. AI can be more efficient and make productivity sky high, and it's fantastic. But it's, of course, also used by criminals. They are usually the first to work out how to use it criminally. And there are so many underground, say, versions of ChatGPT that will help you through whatever you are designing that can break those protections that are already in place. So to try and, say, secure that from happening, we have to think ahead of the criminals, which is very difficult for government agencies who aren't pumping the same amount of money or effort into it to keep it safe.
And as you mentioned earlier, there have been cases of wrongful identification. There's currently one man who is going to the High Court, challenging the High Court against the Met, calling it stop and search on steroids because he was wrongfully identified. There's always a case about there's questions about algorithmic bias in terms of ethnicity, age, gender, etc. The National Physical Laboratory, they said they didn't find any of those sort of biases with this software. But do you think that there is a concern there, and how can we know for sure that there is no bias?
So rather than using the word bias here, I'm going to talk about how it was actually created. The software was built on looking and analyzing pictures of people. It's been found out that the database used was heavily used and learned from white faces. And therefore, it was able to learn white faces at a, say, more rapid pace. And therefore, unfortunately, it's not so good at identifying other people. The same thing goes for children. And therefore, to me, it sounds like they've jumped into using this technology a little bit too quickly. We're so in the infant phase, and therefore I don't think we should be using it and also relying on it just yet until it's got to a better confidence range. But unfortunately, it's just another tool that police officers are wanting to use because, let's face it, the police forces are struggling with catching criminals, and they're looking to use technology in a newer way. And if they can use AI and this new facial recognition software, then they are seeing it as a quick win. But of course, you've got to balance that with how confident you are at using it.
The government says that they're currently evaluating safeguards to try and ensure transparency and public confidence before they draw up this new legal framework. I can see that you're smiling there, but I mean, what would that legal framework look like? What would you like to see implemented? I mean,
this sounds like a typical response to any company that in the aftermath of a data breach saying that they take our security seriously. It's the same thing. Of course, they're going to be taking it seriously because they don't want a breach to occur. But if anything, I would imagine this is effectively acting like a honeypot to criminals. And I would imagine that many criminal groups, not just financially motivated, would target this in the future, which means they need to have even better defenses, making sure that data really is secure. I know that some of these forces are looking at keeping hold of that data for many months or years. But that's where the worry is. At least with the Online Safety Act, they are purporting to remove images instantly, or at least up to 30 days, which reduces that window of opportunity for criminals. But if the data is there and can track, say, retrospectively and away from live facial recognition, the worry is you can then go back in time to see people's movements. And that's something that I think we really need to protect before we go and jump around and pull the party poppers on the fact we've got this fantastic new technology.
I'd love to actually be able to go inside one of these vans and see what it's like.
Oh, it's very, very worrying how quick they are able to do this. We are talking live facial recognition within a matter of seconds, under 3 seconds. If you are on that database, whether it's the side view, front on, or if it's low resolution, it really is impressive at quickly identifying someone.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for joining me on the Tech Report today.
Yeah, thank you.